Alrighty, this is a January 2020, January 20th, 2020 Turbo Onex update on vinyl and the turbo and the engine and performance and everything. I've got right at about 40 hours on it right now. And so first I'll do my vinyl update. I'm super happy with the vinyl. Stayed on really good. I just got some things here where the cowling hits it and has split it a little bit. So if the cowling probably didn't hit it, probably wouldn't have split like that, but it's just mashing into it right here pretty good. So it's a real tight fit. But other than that, all these edges right here are just staying on good. Everything right here is staying on good. The only one spot is right back down the corner. And that was the only place I was really had any concerns about was this. This is the only edge that's completely exposed to the wind. And so I've had air speeds over 170 miles an hour so far, and and nose down, and it's holding up, staying on just great. So I'm super happy with how the vinyl's staying on here. And the only thing that popped up was this one little spot, and right there you can kind of see about maybe like 1/8 of an inch it's peeled up, and this peeled up right away. So I'm thinking that I there must have been some grease here or something that made it not stick very well, but that's it. And like I said, it has not grown at all, hasn't gotten worse. And like I said, I've been up to 170 miles an hour. Put the nose down and go fast, and it's hanging on great. So I am super duper happy with the vinyl. This wing right here, I have polished this section down here and then left this because I'm going to end up extending the yellow up on this section right here and then yellow on the wingtip and leave this portion polished. So that'll be when it warms up a little bit, I'll do that. So I am super happy with the vinyl. It's holding on good and it looks super good. As far as the wheel pants and stuff, that ended up being a pain in the butt. That was too much of a curve for me to handle with vinyl. Maybe some of those pros could do it, but I couldn't do it. So I ended up just rattle canning it. Got me some Rust-Oleum, went through about 5 brands of paint to find the yellow that was the best match, and spray painted it. So this is all this summer, 40 hours. I don't know how many landings take off, just under 100 takeoffs and landings, and it's that rattle can job's holding up great. Again, I didn't buy enough paint, so I got a variety of yellows over here. I found a yellow that matched really good, and by the time they got more in the store, the formula had changed, so it was a different yellow when I got it. And so like, oh man. So I got 2 different yellows right here, but from a distance it looks good. Just rattle can the whole thing, and it's holding up really good. I mean, here it's starting to chip off where I bounce the cowling on and off of it all the time. But all the bugs are hitting it at 100 miles an hour, and it's staying on really good, so I'm happy with that. And then just rattle can the black on there. It came out pretty good. Got a nice sharp line there. That looks good. Getting a little bit dinged up there where the paint's chipping off. But for a cheap rattle can job, I'm happy. I got it done. Like I said, putting vinyl on it, I would have ended up wasting a lot of money putting it on and taking it off. It just would have cost me a lot of money, and so I was like, screw it, I'm just going to paint it. So that's the vinyl update. I'm super happy with that. Now on to the turbo update. Hang on a second. Stop. Okay, but before I do the turbo update, let's do the polish update. So let's see the polish. All right. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. So I polished this January of last year. So it's been 1 year that I polished it, and I have not polished it again. I haven't cleaned it. I haven't done anything. polished. I haven't waxed it. No protection, no nothing. And there you go. That's it. That's 1 year of nothing. And looks great. And you can see right here, I just cleaned it for this video. And so this is all the dust and grime and junk and motor oil, whatever else for the whole year. And I just used my window cleaner. This stuff works pretty good. This is my window cleaner, the plexus for my plastic windows and stuff, and it gets the bugs off and everything. So shoot, when I want to clean it, I just use that stuff. And so I just did that real fast. And look at that. That's awesome. I love this. Some guys have waxed it. The instructions say don't wax it. The polishing stuff say don't wax it. But some guys have, and it just works great for them. And I haven't done anything. And just, right here is where I get all my fingerprints all over it all the time. So it's always dirty right here. And oh, well, big deal. And then this right here has fogged up a little bit more. So I'll probably have to re-hit this. And like I was saying, I'm going to have to tape this off, mask it off, because when the polish gets on there, it gets that black stuff on there. It's a pain in the butt. Acetone will take that black stuff off, but it'll also eat the vinyl, so I got to be real quick with it. But yeah, when you polish it, that black stuff gets on there. So anyhow, the polish is awesome. That looks good. Okay, now onto the turbo. All right, there is the turbo. Stuck my finger in here, its mouth, spinning around. Well, anyhow, the reason why I'm here today is because my plane has been sitting for about 4 weeks, and it's wintertime, and it's wet, and there's moisture everywhere. It's been raining, and my hangar has a habit of flooding, which the flooding is most of it's gone right now. But it turns out these turbos, they rust. They said it takes about 100 hours to season it, kind of like your cast iron pan. And they rust. And so last summer, when I was running this thing on my front lawn, I ended up seasoning the turbo. And I was bummed because I thought I could not manage a turbo. And I sent it in, and they cleaned it up for $200, something like that. And what it was the shaft inside here had rusted. And apparently it's the same problem they have with Continentals or Lycomings or something. The turbo, same thing. If they sit, the moisture accumulates and they rust up. So they said, hey, you might experiment with some stable fogging stuff. So I got their stable fogging oil. I found that. And then I ended up popping a little port on my exhaust manifold here. So it's aimed right at the fins in there, so I can just, after a flight, when I'm going to be done for a while, I can pop that thing out and shoot it in there. Well, the last time I flew was a beautiful day, so I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't do that. So today I checked my turbo, and sure enough, I couldn't spin it with my finger. It was definitely, it's rusted up or something. So I stuffed a socket in there and squirted it full of the stable fogger and twisted it around, broke it free. And so I'll fire it up, and if I can get my boost out of it, the right manifold pressure, then I'm good. If not, here goes another $200. I'll have to send it in and get all the rust cleaned off and do whatever they do to it to get my turbo working again. So that is the turbo rust situation. And like I said, they said it seasons after about 100 hours. Now, on to the turbo manifold pressure problem. I've been flying I got 40 hours on it about. I've been flying for 35 hours with about 33 inches of boost.
Okay, I keep saying boost here, but what I mean is manifold pressure. You're at ambient pressures like 30 inches, which is about sea level. So once you get over 30, then you can be considered maybe called boost, but it's not really a lot of boost. I mean manifold pressure. So sorry.
Okay, 33 inches. It's supposed to do 40. I've never seen 40. So what they said was, here we go. Manifold pressure, minimum takeoff 40. Minimum. Maximum continuous, 35. And like I said, I've only been seeing 33. Maximum from 2 minutes, 40. So I'd never seen 40 inches. Like I said, 33. So I asked him, I said, hey, I'm only getting 33 inches, 35 inches of boost. And is that okay? I've got this Prince prop. What do you guys think? They said, well, sorry, we don't know anything about this propeller, so we can't give you any advice on whether you're doing good enough. I said, my engine's getting close to 3,100 RPM on the ground. Is that good enough? He said, oh yeah, if you're getting that many RPM, you're good. You can fly. Well, the manual says static RPM, wide open throttle with correct propeller, 3,000 RPM. At 33 inches, I was getting almost 3,100 RPM, and I've got their climb prop, or I mean the cruise prop on here. So I got a prop with a good bite, and I was getting almost 3,100 RPM. So I was happy with that. So I was not worried about this minimum takeoff at 40 inches. So 35 hours, been flying it. Works great. You know, I wanted 200 miles an hour, but are you really going to get 200 miles an hour on a VW? You'd have to be pretty smart to do that. So I was getting about 700 feet a minute climb, and pretty reliable 140 miles an hour. But I want to go faster. So after I had gotten comfortable with the aircraft and the engine, and it was running and all that kind of stuff, then it was time to figure out, why am I not getting the boost? Because I paid $4,000 for this turbo upgrade. And I did all the work to shoehorn that thing in there, man. And the whole goal here is, for me, is to go fast and burn gas. And I did a lot of work to get all this stuff packed in here real tight. And so I want to burn gas. I want to go fast. So finally it occurred to me, it's like, oh, I throttle up, and at a certain point, I can keep adding throttle, but it only goes to 33 inches. Like, the wastegate must be working. Huh. So I told my dad, I'm going to wire the wastegate shut. He's like, well, why not just put some preload on it? It's like, oh, okay, I can do that. So I just started, they say to set this, have no preload on it, but it's just holding the wastegate closed. So when you get too much manifold pressure, the wastegate releases, and that lets your turbo slow down and not give it so much boost. So I just started tightening up the threaded shaft right here and put a whole bunch of preload on here. And sure enough, with about every turn, I got about 1 inch of boost. And so I got about, well, let's see, something like that. I could get up to about 35. I finally got up to about 35 inches of boost, which is better than the 33, and it was a noticeable difference. So it's like, good, I'm on the right track. So then I said, hey, your guys' wastegate's kicking off too soon. It's not giving me 40 inches. And they said, well, here's the manufacturer. You can go find you can change the springs on them. So the wastegate's got a spring inside there. And that spring setting is what determines the blow off. So let's see. The original is a 0.3 bar, and so I bought the new 0.3 bar one because I thought, oh, the spring I have in there is not the proper spring or too light or something. So I got the new one. And this new 0.3 bar got me up to 35. Wow, that was a noticeable difference, but still it's only 35. So then I got on the forum and saw a bunch of guys were doing all kinds of crazy things because they were doing the experiment in experimental. And some guys were actually adding springs on the outside of this dumb thing to increase the manifold pressure and the blow-off point. Wow, people are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I said, like I said, the new one I bought here only got me up to 35, so then I bought another one. I want to get more boost. I want my boost, man. I paid a lot of money for this manifold pressure. I want it. Well, what I ended up doing before the new spring got here was I took the old one and I just stretched it out a whole bunch. I overstretched it. So I put the experiment in experimental. It turns out it starts blowing off at about 41 inches. So I stretched it just right. That is way cool. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to pause this for a second. Oh yeah, so as far as manifold pressure, it's like, oh man, I got leaks here somewhere. If I got leaks, where have I got some leaks? I ended up popping this intake manifold off, and I thought, oh, I found it. You know, it looks like it's leaking out underneath here or something like that. That wasn't it. Oh, I've got 14 hose clamps or 16 hose clamps holding this whole intake system on. Maybe a hose clamp's leaking. That's a different possibility, but definite possibility, but that wasn't it either. It ended up being the spring. So, got the good spring in it. Finally, I'm getting full boost on this thing. Man, it's a whole nother airplane going from 33 inches to 36 inches and now 40. A whole nother airplane. It's amazingly different. And like I said, I've had 35 hours at 33 inches of manifold pressure, and now I'm finally over 36, and I've only got 5 hours. I'm right at 40 right now, and it's a big difference. It's definitely noticeable. It's really good. So, but a new problem arose. The first day I finally put the heavier spring in there when I stretched it out and got good manifold pressure. I did a kind of a gentle takeoff and climb out of here, and I ended up getting what ended up being detonation. If I put the power setting up over 33 inches of manifold pressure for any length of time, all of a sudden the engine would start detonating. And I looked up some race car websites to figure out what was going on, how to manage a turbo, and that's what they said. Is detonation is one thing and some other stuff, but it's like, okay, detonation. Well, when I first got back, I thought, okay, detonation. I end up finding one of my spark plugs right here is cracked. This whole thing's cracked. Oh shoot, that's it. Man, that's an easy fix. My spark plug's misfiring. Wow, that's great. Under a super heavy power setting, it was forcing a misfire, but under a lighter power load, it wasn't a misfire. Easy fix. Put new spark plugs in, doesn't do a thing for it. Okay, I need a colder range of spark plugs, so I try to find a colder range of spark plug. This is the 4163, and so let's go with the 4162. Well, at first I couldn't find it, so I got these NGKs that were supposed to be the next cooler range. That didn't fix it. So then finally I found the 4162s that were cooler. Again, that didn't fix it. So timing. Secondary ignition timing. So the mags right here, you cannot adjust the timing. They're fixed. So I thought, well, maybe you can adjust the height. I don't know if that would affect timing or not, but oh well, couldn't do anything about that. But the secondaries are an electronic, they got a little magnet down there that affects it. So an easy way to test that was to just turn off my secondary ignition. So I just turned off the secondary ignition, did a full power ground run, sat here on the ground, ran it up to full throttle, and that helped a lot. And I thought it solved the problem turning off my secondaries. And so I thought, okay, for sure my timing is way too advanced on my secondaries. Well, it turned out that wasn't it either. It did help, at least on the ground. But I retarded my secondaries a bunch, and it still detonates. Even just when I have the secondaries off, it still detonates. So I still got a problem. It's like, what is my problem? And on the forum, there wasn't a lot of tips other than timing, which I had already solved. And that was definitely an issue, but solving that did not fix my problem. So now what's the problem? So I finally got a hold of Kerry at Onex, and he sent me a list of things to possible causes of detonation. And one of the things he said, which was the easiest, of course, was too lean, running too lean. And it's like, oh man, I've been trying to get this thing dialed in because you run with the turbo, you got to have plenty of gas to make the turbo run. But when you run the richer needle, it makes it load up on idle. So you're got your power out, you're coming in for a descent, and now your engine's loading up. And when you land, your engine's barely running. So you're having to struggle with all your hands, pull on the brake, add some throttle, pull out the mixture, do a whole bunch of junk while you're trying to do this thing. So what I wanted is, so I've been working a lot with the needles. And I've had my needle in and out so much that the lock nut here, this lock thing, it stopped locking. It turned out when I would tighten that, it would start spinning this one instead of locking it. So I had to finally go to the hardware store and give me another lock screw, lock it up. But like I said, I've been flying for the last 5 hours with lots of boost, and turns out I've been running with a number 2 needle. And the number 2 needle is what the Aero V carburetor comes with. And so, or the Aero injector. And so it's like, okay, I am running with a lean needle, and they got the number 2 stamped on it right there somewhere. So here's all my needle tests. I got a, what is this? 1, 3, 2.5, 2.0, and 2.5, and here's the mod one, 2.0 mod. So what I wanted was, it idled great with the 2, but I needed the fuel of a 3. So I took my number 2 needle, again, more experiments, and I used a file and filed it down to make it richer on the full throttle side, but kept the 2.0 profile, the number 2 profile, for idle. So hopefully, I was hoping it would make it idle good and have good high power fuel delivery. Well, and of course I can run all this on the ground and do a ground test. I don't have to test this in the air, so I'm not much of a risk. It ended up running, I grounded down too much. It ended up running just like a 3. So that's why I had ended up putting this 2 back in. But now it makes sense that I'm glad I had a 2 in there, because that's kind of indicating I'm running lean. And like I said, my whole goal is to go fast. I don't care about gas mileage. I want to go fast. I can go 100 miles an hour for 3 hours and get 300 miles an hour, 300 miles, or I can go 150 miles an hour for 2 hours and get 300 miles. And I'd rather go faster and burn more gas. So I have been struggling to burn more than 5 gallons an hour on this thing. I cannot burn more than 5 gallons an hour. And so now I'm getting full boost on my turbo, but I've got a really lean needle in there. So I'm hoping this is finally my answer. Put a richer needle in, and then I will be able to suck down some gas, because my whole goal here is to burn gas, because I want to go fast, and that's why I have the turbo, and that's why I have a cruise prop, and that's why I went with this Prince prop, because I heard that it'll make things side by side with Ascension. This will get better all-around performance. So my goal is to go fast. So I just discovered that I am running a lean needle, and Carrie was saying, yeah, you probably should go the 2.5 is typically what people run. So I'm gonna, like I said, it idles rich with the richer needles. So I'm still gonna try to modify a number 2 needle again and richen it up. And so we'll see if that works. So that is my 1 year update. I'm at 40 hours. I got to mechanic and fly in between work and everything. And like I said, right now the turbo is kind of seized up. We'll fire it up and see if it breaks free. I can spin it with my fingers now, and I squirted my fogger in there. And then vinyl's doing good. My polish is holding up good. My turbo's been a pain in the butt, but now that it's starting to finally perform good, I'm starting to get really excited about that. Flight characteristics. One thing about flying it is, since I'm always got a mash full throttle and stuff like that, it's always yawing to the right, because it's a counterclockwise spin from the seat. It's yawing to the right, and I don't know what I did to the wing, but it's turning left, rolling left and yawing right pretty bad. So I cannot let go of the stick. So I've been playing with the playing with my flaps under here and messing with the their threaded jack screws. So I'm messing with that, trying to adjust to trim it without putting a trim tab on it. But it looks like I'm gonna probably put a trim tab on it. Controls are super light. It's like power steering. It's great. I love it. Super light. Maybe it's pitch sensitive, but I don't notice. I just really like to be able to just move that thing with my fingers, and that plane goes where I want it to go, and I really like that. The roll left and the yaw right's kind of annoying because I'm always riding with my left foot on the rudder. Left foot rolling, it's yawing right, rolling left, yeah. And I can't let go of the stick, so anyhow, that's a pain. So I got to work that out. But other than that, man, it is super duper light on the controls. Just really fun to do touch and goes with. I'm still practicing my touch and goes to get those really super duper smooth. Right now, I really like a 75 mile an hour approach speed. So I'm trying that right now. 75 miles an hour, no flaps. Just come in and grease it on the runway. And so I just needed more practice to figure out how to land this thing. Like I said, I've only got 30, 40 hours in it right now. And I've only got 40 hours in the last 20 years, so I haven't flown for 20 years. So let's see. So flight characteristics, I really, really enjoy how it flies. Landing, the tail wheel is easy. It never even hints at wanting to pass you up. So that's not a problem. It's a super small airplane, and the tail is not hidden too bad in the fuselage. So the tail's got good controllability when you're coming up to speed for takeoff. So that's not a problem. Let's see what else. God, it's just fun to fly. I'll have some pictures in here of my flights and stuff, and you'll see what it looks like. It's just super, super, really fun. I gotta trim it out. That'll make it nicer, and I gotta get that turbo full power. Right now I can get about 150 miles an hour, and I'm shooting. Come on, baby, just give me 160. That would be nice. Burn some more gas for me. Okay. So I think, I'll show you the inside. So now we'll get the instrument panel. Okay, now for my interior here, man, I'm so happy with this thing. I've got my little MGL, and it's got everything. So I haven't paid for the full AHRS yet. That's another $700 to get a full artificial horizon. But right now it kind of does the bank and the pitch off of my GPS. It checks it off of GPS. But as you can see over here, man, I got engine RPM, manifold pressure, oil temperature, oil pressure, fuel gauge. And then here it's cycling through the CHTs and EGTs. So I've got all my engine instrumentation and all my flight information here, man. I got ground speed, true airspeed, vertical airspeed, I got my, what is this? My flight time, local time, outside temperature, battery level, everything. And this little unit, this display is barely bigger than my phone, so you gotta have good eyesight, but it's awesome. And I think I'm into it for $2,200. And once I add the full AHRS and back, then that'll be another $700. But my one buddy's got just the Grand Rapids thing, and his Grand Rapids thing I think was like $800 for all his engine monitoring, and but it has airspeed also. So he just uses that for $800, and then he uses his iPad for all his flight stuff. Well, it turns out when I got into his airplane and tried to look at that, it's just a segmented digital LCD display. It's like, wow. At first, I was bummed I spent so much on mine and he got away with his so cheap. But having color is so nice, because if you have any settings on here, you set your caution, which is yellow, and your alarms, which are red, and out of the corner of your eye, you don't even have to look at this, you can see red. So if any of these things alarms is going red, you've got an instant indication. So this color display is just so nice. And so even though I paid what, $1,200 more than what he paid, I'm super happy with that. And this Becker radio I ended up getting off eBay for like $450 from a guy in Italy, and it made it all the way over here and it works great. Although I had to tear apart the radio and mount the bottom of it under my armrest over here, so it's mounted right there, and then I got this big huge ribbon cable that goes up here, so that worked great. Let's see what else. I love my little I'm pretty happy with these labels right here. That was $20 for all these little labels. Just sent some drawings to an engraver guy and did it for $20. So that's the cockpit, and this, I got the little Stratix thing, which is a Raspberry Pi, like $120, and that puts all my airplanes up here, which I don't have programmed in right now. So that is working great. Yeah, so I just put my radio connections down there, push to talk in the middle of my stick. God, like I said, I'm so happy with the layout here. I ended up making that armrest over there, which is real nice. I'm probably gonna make another little armrest over here, so that when usually I have my arms sitting on this edge to hold the throttle, which is annoying. So I'm gonna make something right here for when I got my hand on the throttle. That's nice. Let's see. That's the interior. Oh, the other funny thing is the gas cap is inside the interior here. So you take off that cover, then unscrew the gas cap and fill it with gas. And it turns out it hasn't been that big of a deal. I'm pretty careful, and it's pretty easy to hit the hole. So I haven't had a problem spilling gas in here yet. So that's been good. Let's see, what else? All right, I think my battery's gonna go dead. That's it. Signing off.